We all know that that Sonji resigned her position as chair, effective immediately this week, and so we currently have no chair or vice chair. And the remaining members of the executive committee are the immediate past chair, that's me, and the chair of the CPRC, and that's Sam. And Sam and I have decided, have asked today for our most senior member and tenured member of the commission to lead us today. Well, oh, I thought Alan was. Well, anyway, Sam and I have asked if Alan would be willing to lead the meeting today. We're gonna, as you can see, we've set aside a little bit of time to just talk about the leadership issue, and we thought that Alan would be a really great person to lead the discussion today. So I'm going to turn it over to Alan for the remainder of the meeting.
All right, good. Thank you, Kyle and Sam, who will not be here today. It's a personal wedding or something. So welcome. This is the September 3rd regular monthly meeting of the Portland Human Rights Commission. So why don't we open up by just taking a second to for commission members to introduce yourself, and then since I'm back in the running the meeting role, we will also give folks an opportunity to kind of warm themselves up in the meeting by when you give your introduction, also maybe just give us a couple of sentences about where you are now that we're kind of transitioning out of summer and into fall. Tell us how you're feeling as you begin to feel that transition. I'll start. I'm Alan Lazo. I am a member of the Portland Human Rights Commission, and actually, I definitely feel. I realized. I told myself the other day that I realized that the transition from summer into fall isn't quite as sudden as when spring hits, which I always find really amazing. That time when you kind of first realize that all of a sudden, you come out of winter and it's spring all of a sudden. I think fall has a much more leisurely transition and a very different feeling than that. So I almost do appreciate, having lived more than just a while, I really do appreciate that feeling and kind of look forward to it. And also get tired of being too hot. So that's another piece that I look forward to as we move towards the fall.
Should I go?
Sure.
Okay. Diallo Bennett, Commissioner, and this transition, I'll be in classes, but I hope for this term that, well, I don't hope, I actually plan to really start putting human rights stuff into my classes. Start talking about it so that I can use, because I'm taking a PR class, which I kind of need, because I talk about human rights stuff very bluntly, and so maybe pairing the two a lot more.
Let's back up one to Katie.
And what was the question?
The question was just, how are you feeling as we move this transition from summer into fall? And introduce yourself.
I'm Kate Lord, and I feel really excited by this transition. I hate being hot. I just I can't wait for the rain. I'm tired of watering the garden. And there's just so much happening in the world right now. It's really good to come together with good people and try to figure out what we can do.
I'm Linda McKim-Bell, Commissioner, and I'm welcoming fall because I'm really excited about our Housing Solutions Forum. We've done a lot of research on this project, and we carefully and slowly built it up to be something that I think is really going to move the city forward for housing solutions. So I'm very excited. It's been a moving target, and now it's coming together. It's going to be a real quality event. So I'm excited and hopeful.
I'm Damon Isaiah Turner, and summer, fall kind of blends together for me until it rains. It's all good.
Just wait then. Just wait. Okay. Oh.
Okay, I'll go first. Ashley Horn, Human Rights Commissioner. Fall is my favorite season, so it's just always been that way. I like the colors and the smells and the flavors, just like all the sensory elements to what fall is. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm Kenya Budd, OEHR staff, and for me the transition to fall is sort of a grudge match because I prefer the weather of the summer all day. I'll sweat all day rather than be cold. And it marks sort of, to me, the loss of my best friends because my kids get to hang out with me a lot in the summer. And if they go back to school, they don't have as much time for me. And so it's kind of, that's where it's kind of grudge match. I miss the weather. I miss hanging out with my kids more. And it's sort of like socking in for 9 months of drear.
The opposite ways.
Well, we know where Kenya stands.
I'm Kyle Bussey, Commissioner. I was really excited about fall until I heard Kenya about her opinions about fall. But, yeah, so, thanks, Kenya. No, I love fall. It's my favorite time of year. I like heat, dislike all of the heat, and we don't have air conditioning in my house. To my 6-month-old daughter's dismay, she was born in the big winter storm last February, and she's definitely a winter baby. But this fall is exciting for me because she's growing up, and it's a lot of fun to be her dad. But I have mixed emotions because this is my last couple of months on the Human Rights Commission, and as my work and personal life kind of has taken over, it's kind of squeezed everything else out. But looking forward to my last couple of months.
Thanks, Kyle. So we'll also ask the members of the public who have joined us this evening to introduce themselves. Feel free to wax eloquently about autumn if you wish, but let's go ahead and start up front with Mike.
I'm Mike Tabor, and I'm filming, putting this up under joeanybody.com, and just independent media kind of person, volunteering. And the change is okay. I'm not ready for cold weather though, so that's about it for me.
Thank you.
I'm Marcia Suttonberg, and this is my first time here visiting, and I have recently submitted an application to Kenya to serve on either the commission or one of your committees. So I'm here to transition into discovering a whole new little loop.
I'm Kofi Desu, staff, Office of Equity and Human Rights. I'm in charge of equity training and education program.
I'm Sheila Warren, and I'm part of a group called Portland Parent Union, and we're having a huge event, and so I was invited to come and talk to you guys about it. See a lot of my buddies are on the commission. We'll see you guys.
I'm Charles Johnson. I've been a visitor here with you all at the Human Rights Commission, although I played with you with Kate Lohr about a month ago to talk about climate change. We'll speak about that at the end of the meeting. But even though I sometimes think we're a little bit over quota on new aginess and astrology, I do look forward to this autumnal equinox and balance of, even though I'll miss the daylight, patterns and cycles, are just natural in nature to human. But I do think that we should all, as we go into winter, be more aware of the effect of seasonal affective disorder and things that we can do to help keep our human comrades maximally satisfied.
Thanks, Charles. Anyone?
Yvonne Keister, Portland Commission on Disability, and there's nothing exciting going on, so I won't be sharing anything today. I'm just here to observe. And fall for me usually is really exciting because I also don't like the heat. And I love cooking with pumpkins.
Oh, thank you.
But this year I'm in transition, a lot of transition right now, so I'm really not liking any of the transitions, whether it be this season or my own world.
Want to get settled down, huh? All right. Well, thank you all. I think we're still one short of a quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, but please take a look at tonight's agenda, which you should have in front of you. If you don't, there's some here on the table, as well as the meeting minutes. And we won't be able to vote on them, but if you have any changes that you'd like to propose for the agenda or the minutes, we can take those and then vote on them when we have a quorum. So take a minute to take a look at tonight's agenda and also at the meeting minutes from our August 16th.
Just pop back into his office. You want me to grab?
Take a minute to close this in.
I'll let-
Yeah, let me know that we're going to be close to it exactly. All right, any proposed changes for this evening's agenda that we have before you?
I have a couple.
Yeah,
So under the.
or the meeting, agenda first.
Oh, sorry.
I will say that because I see you before.
My apologies.
Anything on the agenda? Okay, we'll move to approve that later. And then now, any substantive changes on the meeting minutes from August 6th?
I'm happy to give people time to wait a couple minutes.
No, I didn't.
The second page, under Emily G. Gottfried Awards, it's a small thing under the mayor's staff visit, Diana. I would say Diana met instead of me. And then the part that I actually care about is the third page, the policy breakout of what we talked about. I would just like to add the HTTF trafficking legislative policy work to that, because it's a lot of what we're working on. HTTF. This is TTF. Okay. Trafficking legislative priorities. And then the workplace staff.
Actually, right above that, where it says ban the box, that should actually be ban the box,
Oh, right.
in the policy.
I didn't see that. And I wasn't sure MHR stands for. So I know the Blackmail Initiative, BMA, collaborative work around the tax credit opportunity, but I wasn't sure what MHR was standing for there. Someone know? Or did you just not know acronyms?
And isn't Blackmail Initiative BMI?
Yeah.
It's Blackmail Achievement Initiative?
Oh,
BMA.
okay.
Sorry. So MHR, I would just scratch that unless someone knows what that is. I don't know the name. Okay.
Yay.
Okay.
Quorum.
And we should also note that Emily's name should be Gottfried on page 2. Welcome, Union Man.
Welcome.
And Joe.
Hi, everybody.
We'll give you a couple minutes to settle in. We were just looking over the minutes and the agenda, so we'll ask for approval in a little bit since you guys will complete the quorum. But in the interim, we can have our esteemed Joe Wall give us his OEHR update, if that's okay with everyone, while we settle in.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. So thanks for being here. I'm filling in for Dante, who's on vacation. He'll be back next Wednesday. So appreciate everybody being here. So a couple of things wanted to kind of go over. Obviously, you know, as the fall begins, you know, we should all be thinking about kind of the budget process. It's never too early to begin, you know, thinking about what are some of the key things that we want to be looking at as far as some of our objectives and things going into the year, you know, that may have budget implications. And those are the types of things that we should begin developing strategies around, you know, as early as possible, so that we begin, you know, putting that narrative together and garnering support both from, commissioner staff's offices as well as the community. So I think, let us know too how we can work together, to help bolster those ideas and concepts moving forward. Like the commission, our office also is going through some staff transitions. As many of you knew, Patrick Philpott, who had been supporting the Commission on Disabilities, took leave of our office, and we miss him dearly. And as the person who's kind of filling in behind him temporarily while we do the recruitment for that position, I find every day, just how much work that our staff does in supporting all of you and the commissions that we support in our office. And so we have that position going, and then we're transitioning, of course, the Civil Rights Program from the Office of Management Finance to our office. And so with that came two positions. Many of you probably knew Danielle Brooks, who had been with the Office of Management Finance before, and then worked in with the ADA transition plan prior to leaving for a while. Came back and successfully was recruited to fill that manager position. So she's now in our office, and then also David Gallup, who had been who is basically the ADA transition plan specialist, also came with us. That budget is a temporary limited term budget. We're looking to see how we might be able to fill that long term and make that a permanent position, because he's a wonderful resource. If you haven't had a chance to meet him, please stop by our office and try and meet David. He's an architect by professional training and education, and has been a tremendous resource to all of the city bureaus in regard to the ADA transition plan, and how they not only can comply, but actually be really thinking about being forward thinking, not only from a maintenance standpoint, but being proactive. Can you imagine with that? So we're going through some of those things right now as well. We want to just ensure all of you too that our office is here to support the commission in any way as we go through this transition in leadership. And so please feel free and let Kenya or I know how we can be of assistance during this period of time as well, because it's really critical for us. And then lastly, Kate and I were both involved in a meeting last night till about 9 o'clock, working with Commissioner Fritz. We're both involved with the recruitment. We're calling it a recruitment, even though it's a contracted position, but this is for the compliance officer and community liaison. And this is the individual or team that will be overseeing the city's compliance with the Department of Justice settlement agreement. And that settlement agreement, just to remind everyone too, had to do with the police bureau's use of force when encountering individuals experiencing mental illness. And so we've gone through an initial recruitment process, and many of us that have been involved in this think back that this process actually started back in February of this year. There were a number of challenges going through, not least of which was the justices kind of wanting to think about the settlement agreement and the city's proposal on how to accept it and to further that settlement agreement. So we now have a signed agreement with the Department of Justice, and so we're able to now move forward with the selection of this, again, person or firm. And we've narrowed down now to, we have three candidates who will go through the next phase of the process, which will be and include an interview, and it will be part of a public process, will be an opportunity for the public to meet these three individuals and teams, hear a little bit about their backgrounds, how they feel they're qualified for the role of being the COPL, as we affectionately have been referring to it as. And then they will go into an interview phase with a number of key stakeholder groups, and that will include mental health, diverse community organizations, and then certainly the city commissioner staff's offices will be represented there as well. And we've really sought, Commissioner Fritz, I have to say, has really taken a very active role in trying to ensure that all communities, particularly those in the mental health community and diverse community groups that have been certainly historically impacted by a lot of the police bureau's actions in this regard, have been involved in both the planning process and developing interview questions and things like that moving forward. So one last thing is we'd like to ask this group to perhaps identify someone who would be interested in serving on this interview panel. Kate's been involved, not necessarily from this group, but certainly in representing the AMA coalition in our planning process, but we would love to have someone else participate in. So I would kind of just leave it that way, and if you have a way that you can identify that individual, just let me know that, and that would be great. So we have probably one more planning meeting before the interviews. Tentatively, those are going to be scheduled for Monday, September 29th. And so there'll be more information, and hopefully a press release will be coming out either tomorrow or Friday at the latest in regard to that announcement.
Is in regard to co-op.
Okay.
I understand
Sure.
that once a COCO is hired, there's to be 90 days. Within 90 days, the co-op is to be created, filled, and I understand that the HRC is asked to appoint one person to that. So as we're working on our leadership transition, do you happen to know more detail about that role? And if that HRC person who's assigned to the co-op needs to always be on the HRC?
That's a good,
Any other things that might come up in that role shifting regard?
You bet. I don't think that there's anything that was specifically laid out, Amy, in the settlement agreement, in regard to the requirements of membership. I think that ostensibly, as you guys may recall historically, there was a period of time when HRC and the co-op were almost, looking like they were going to be commingled and, become one and the same. And so we were able to successfully argue against that because, I think a broader role, in regard to that. But I'll check, certainly, and try to get, as much detail as I can to all of you. So.
If I remember correctly from last night, that's the topic of conversation that we'll have for our next meeting.
Which meeting?
What is the name of this group?
I think it's a process advisory committee,
Okay.
to the COCO selection process, and then, but the co-op did come up in last night's meeting because people, again, just like yourself, they were reading the settlement agreement and said, well, now that we've got that signed, now that we're able to start looking at the interview process, for the COCO, should we be also thinking about the co-op and how we make those selections? And so I think Kate is correct, and we'll have more detail.
The same group will be working on the co-op process.
Yes, I think at least the initial, framework in regard to how we put that together and how selections will be made.
Could you quickly run by for me the selection process, like there's applications and they were gone through and then to the end, and just exactly if someone from HRC were participating, what would happen with that public and HRC conversation? How would that be inputted to the selection process?
You bet. As we said, the recruitment process started last February, and so we tried to push word out and get as broad an outreach as we could in regard to that. I think it's never enough. I think we could have probably done, just 1,000 times, more what we know now, kind of thing. But we ended up at getting, I think the initial pool of applicants was somewhere around 18 to 20, and that was screened out initially by a panel just looking at the minimum qualifications to a group of, I think it was a group of around 12 to 15 that went through us. Then the next stage was a screening process, and again, at each one of these phases, Commissioner Fritz had put together this this planning group that consisted of representatives from commissioners' offices, as well as some, initially I think there was a lot of representation from the AMA coalition, and so there was some feedback from the mental health community that, this is really about mental health, and so we really need to have a stronger representation. So we ended up supplementing the membership of the screening panel particularly to ensure that we have that. And then there was also some feedback that we really needed someone to help kind of screen whether these applicants had any expertise with law enforcement, not particularly as, let's say, a police officer, but enough to understand police reform, you know, and how that might be accomplished. And so we added another individual then that was able to assist us in that manner as well. And that group screened down then to a smaller group then that went through a secondary screen and to where we come today to this.
And we had
final
to
group.
do scoring, you know, it was.
Yes.
We actually had criteria by which we scored each application.
Thanks.
Do that. And so at this last phase of the process, again, after the this press conference that comes either Thursday or Friday, again, those names of the 3 finalists then will be made public, and then again, those interviews tentatively are scheduled for Monday the 29th. And so hopefully, as many of you as possible will be able to attend at least the public portion of that, which would be the morning, where each of those candidates and or teams will do a short 25-minute presentation on why they feel they're the most qualified, and then again, they'll go into these panel interviews.
So what time and what location?
Tentatively, they're scheduled to start at 8:30, yellow, and then I think till like 12:30. Correct me if I'm wrong.
12:40.
Okay, 12:40, right? Yeah, we were really kind of screening, going back and forth with times and everything, so.
And it's going to either be in the council chambers or in the auditorium of
Right.
the Portland.
Portland building.
So just really quickly, when do you need a name from the HRC for the HRC commissioner's participation in the screening committee? And then do you have a projected time for when the COCL is actually going to be ultimately selected? Because that's when the 90 days starts for the COAB, and that's when the HRC has to get involved with COAB selection with PCOP.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's one of the things that we've been talking about. So with interviews taking place, you know, I'll put my old recruitment hat on and everything too. So what's then end up going to happen is after those interviews take place, there's going to be a debriefing session that all city council members will participate and have an opportunity to hear the debrief from these various stakeholder groups. That will begin then. So that will be September 29th. That begins a 30-day public comment period. So after that period of time, you all have opportunities to, you know, send your feedback to City Council in regard to, you know, look, I attended that initial public, you know, forum where I heard, you know, the candidates and things like that talk about it. I really feel that candidate X, you know, sounded like they were the most qualified, you know, to do this job. So after that 30-day public comment period, then council will make a determination of who they want to select. And so then at that point in time, then, you know, we would enter into, city attorney's office would be leading the kind of the contractual process.
So we're looking at late October, early November. As
Yeah,
the
that's what
selection.
my assumption is too.
But you also asked that somebody from HRC be selected to go and sit on the screening committee, I think?
Yes, this would be that interview panel on the 29th.
Okay,
Yes.
so the 29th, by the 29th, you need somebody, and then ended October.
Right, and then the COAB, yeah, I think we've got more time to work.
But not by, you probably need that name probably much. within a
As soon
couple weeks.
as soon as possible, yeah. Ideally today or tomorrow, or, you know, Friday at the latest if we could.
Great.
Lots of information there. Any other questions?
Quick questions, because we're low on time. Yes. Thanks, Joe.
You bet.
Good to see you.
Thank you all. And again, let us know too how we can help support you all too.
Will do.
All right.
All right, and I do want to note that we're running a little bit behind, and I apologize to our guests. So actually, why don't we take just 1 second to approve the agenda and minutes so we can get one of the votes out of the way. Did anybody else have, now that we have a forum, any other updates to tonight's agenda or the minutes from August 6th? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to accept both of those items this evening.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of tonight's agenda as shown, as distributed, and the minutes for August 6th with the earlier minor amendments.
I have an amendment, I'm
Oh.
sorry, I'm just having a chance to look.
Oh.
Immediate business, Amy asked the law enforcement review committee, clear, is interested in contributing rather than the community. Sorry, page 2, immediate business. I think I was basically referring to the committee, the new law enforcement committee.
Oh, the law was pretty clear. All right. So Kyle, you going to accept an amendment to your motion that we accept that?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor of the tonight's agenda and the minutes as amended with the show of hands and an eye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. All right.
Can I just abstain for the moment, because I haven't looked at it, so.
You can. Welcome.
Thank you, sorry.
I should read.
Okay, all right.
What happened?
No, she and Yellow just switched. But we just have an extension, and I think we vote that.
All right, otherwise, let's move on to item number 4, immediate business, and ask Sheila Warren to join us. You can go on this side so that we'll capture you. You're immortally on film by
Immortally? Whoa. That's too much.
I know, isn't it? As immortal as electronics are these days, I suppose.
How's the light in here, Mike? Is it?
It's okay right now. Right now, it's okay.
All right. It's special today. There's a lot of my special friends at this table. I didn't know. Wow, this is great. I guess I'm invited here. Thank you for inviting me, Amy. I'm invited here, as you guys know, most of you know that I started a group called Portland Parent Union, and we've been in existence for 5 years. And we've done a lot of work around the disproportionality, push-out systems. When we first started, we called it push-out, where kids are just pushed out of school in one way or the other, either by discipline or just because they're not getting the education that they need. One of the things that we tried to do with Portland Parent Union when we first started was we were determined we were going to be an advocacy group for families. And so the disproportionate discipline kind of found us. And so it felt like that's the work we needed to do because that's all we got the calls from families. Was families being pushed out or kids being disciplined. So we started doing that. I was looking for an organization that could help support Parent Union and found a group called Dignity Schools, which kind of started around the same time we did 5 years ago. Dignity Schools is a national organization which is made up of at least 80 organizations around the country who are fighting the same fight as we are. And we do a lot of legislative work. We go to DC and testify in front of, and so the federal guidance around discipline, a lot of the wording has come from our group and what we've done nationwide as far as pushing back, talking to the man, Arnie Duncan, around education, and President Obama, and all those folks trying to get them to recognize that push out or kids being kicked out was an issue, was a problem, was epidemic. By the time when we started 5 years ago, almost 6 years, it was becoming an epidemic, and we were part of a group called Community Education Parties, which is another cohort where we fought for at least 7 or 8 years with Portland Public Schools to recognize that there is a disparity, there's a disparity, and they needed to do something about it. So on that note, that's the work we've been doing. Dignity Schools just came to visit us about 2 weeks ago, which mostly are people of color. They're people of color who look like myself. They're people who are African American and Hispanic. There's a lot of other groups. Our support groups are the NAACP Defense Fund, there are lobbyists, and then there are the ACLU, national ACLUs in lots of different states. So we do have that kind of professional support process, for us also. One of the things that we do every year is called a Week of Action. And every year, for the last 5 years, we've been pushing, having a Week of Action, a whole Week of Action, talking about the push-out system. And so we have a campaign going on called Suspensions, Solutions Not Suspensions, which is around asking for our local districts to create a moratorium on kids who've been kicked out. You know, we are saying, please don't kick our kids out, let's figure out alternatives. And some of the alternatives is restorative justice and positive behavior support stuff, and which has been going on at least in 8 schools. They call them beacon schools, and now it's trying to spread positive behavior. It's really working with kids who have large behavior issues. And I will argue that some of it, what the system needs to recognize, and I think people are starting to recognize that there's a lot of mental health issues, which seem to be epidemic too. Once they started, you know, the budget, they started getting rid of counselors and folks who could really be supportive, and the teachers are really up in arms about not having that support, so they're quicker to kick the kids out. You know, if they have a classroom, there's the huge classroom sizes where, you know, it's a catch-22. So we're all trying to figure out, parent union is trying to figure out our partners and who we can work with to help to support and push back on that piece. We've had an amazing win with Port Public Schools, and now we're sitting down with Port Public Schools to look at a moratorium with the superintendent, with the equity person, with everybody, and it's us parents leading this, parent union leading that. Have you ever heard of such? There's parents leading this process. It's amazing, it's amazing. So if you're a prayer, people, pray for us that, you know, because we know it's gonna be a hard task. We figure once we start sitting down with the powers that be, you know what's gonna happen. The powers that be are gonna think they know better. And so we have to be strong and figure out the best thing, the best solution we can come up with for our children. It's about our children, it's not about us, it's not about adults. And a lot of times we tell the adults the reason children behave the way they do is because they emulate adult behavior. That's a lot of it. But Dignity in Schools, a week of action, is about, we do things every day to educate the community, the nation, government, everybody around what's going on with our kids in school, around push-out, and so we have our event on August, we had that event already, didn't we? On October the 11th, it was August 11th when we had, October the 11th is when we're gonna have our Dignity in Schools, and it's called Don't Lock Us Out. Education is the key, and don't lock us out. That's the thing. And so what we're going to do this year, restorative justice has been what we've been really pushing. And some of you have been involved with our restorative listening dialogue. Apparently you have a program called Restorative Listening Dialogue. We work with Resolutions Northwest, who does restorative justice stuff. But we take it even further to do community healing and bringing, what we do is bring teachers and parents together and have those conversations. It's been very successful. And our work is so in demand now that we're invited everywhere to do this work. And so capacity-wise, we need more capacity. And of course, we need more money. I know you guys don't have any money, but we do need that. So if you know of anybody, I didn't know I was going to say that. But anyway, so the whole process for me is to invite everybody to help to support the week of action. We're having a press conference. I'm going to be out of town. So we're having a press conference on Tuesday of that week. We'd like to bring the press in and say, this is what's going on. This year we can talk about wins, and the press conference will be at the EFC. You guys know the EFC administration building of the superintendent. So we'll have the rally press conference there. It'll be a positive because, we've held the superintendent to task. They really strongly believe that they want to help us support us. And so the press conference, we need to document publicly that the folks have said they want to do this, so that we can hold them to task if they don't do it, right? It's just what we have to do. Anyway, I'm grassroots baby, so it's like I talk like this. So so this is what we talk about. So the week of action on the 11th is around, whenever we do a week of action, we do restorative. It's more about restorative practices. So we do a healing circle. Some of you experienced a little bit of it when we did the restorative justice stuff with the city club and with other folks. That at the church that time, Kate and you guys, and so you experienced a little bit of it. You know, it's not quite. I'm a purist around when we do healing circles, and when you get in my circle, you have to comply, and you can't talk. You know, it's up, and people most impacted in the circle get to talk, and other people get to listen, and it's been very effective. And parents have been heard, and so we pride ourselves on when parents call. Sometimes they need a lot of help, but by the time we listen to them for 2 hours, sometimes that's all the help they need is just somebody listening to us. But the Week of Action is going to be an amazing event because we're going to ask. I hope you see my email, but we're going to ask our young men who've just become a part of restorative justice. There's a woman in the juvenile justice system who does amazing work, and so we're having what we call it's just a interactive event. It's no keynote speaker. Last year we had Nancy Golden showed up. She had just gotten appointed her position when she came and just spent the day with us, and we don't. One of the things that there's no title involved. We want to show up as just people, and we're not this person, and we're not puffed up being that person. We just want to be for the parents' sake, because we don't want families to feel intimidated. So during that time, there'll be a lot of restorative practice stuff going on, kumbaya stuff, man. And we'll be just loving each other up and talking about this, how we can support each other, and subtly it's a way of pushing back on folks too and saying, what are you doing to our kids? It's a real sneaky way of trying to get people to do what they need to do for our children and families. So the Week of Action, October 11th from 9 to 4. We're also going to be at Concordia College. Since we don't have our office anymore, we had an amazing office, but it wasn't family friendly. So we are using Concordia University a lot for a lot of our meetings. And so we're hoping to have an event there. I still need to get approval because they're growing so much. Concordia is growing so fast. You can't get rooms like you used to. So, but we're hoping that it'll be there. It'll be somewhere. It'll be somewhere. But it's amazing, and we usually pass out on everybody a T-shirt, and everybody runs around looking like in solidarity around the process. And so we're just wanting. We have a thing called a Data with the Soul. It's a push-out. It's called Push-Out Course. It's made up of 10 or 15 parents who are telling their stories about their horror stories around kids being pushed out of school, out of class, or just being demonized in some way. It's bad. And it's starting, we started out in middle school, but now it's kindergarten. They got calls from, I know you guys seen the data and heard the stories, but it started at Head Start. Head Start, kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. Our kids, the last 2 or 3 advocacy things that we showed up to was kids kindergarten. It starts being labeled, or black boys being labeled, black boys being labeled, black boys being labeled. And if you look at the data, you'll see that's what you'll see. That's the data. So somehow we have to address it. That's why President Obama came out with the Black Boy Initiative. What's it called? It's something. My brother's keeper. And so and a lot of that has been from pressure that's been put on them from local and state groups, grassroots groups, people who have been impacted, parents, and students. One of the things, the moratorium, I wanted to pass this out. What we're asking, this is a model code on education and dignity, and this is the summary. The model code is about 100 pages, and we're asking school districts to use that model code, use that code rather than the discipline code that they have now. We have pressured the district so much because the model, the discipline code was talking about, criminal things, criminal offenses. Like we had one child who's in his record, he's autistic. He was labeled as assault and battery. We had another child, sexual assault was in his, 6 years old, and he mental health mouth and he would touch the girl on the behind. So now this is true stories. And so we're always in the schools telling them, no, you're not gonna label this child. And the other thing, I heard you guys talk about the police, and one of my pet peeves is around, I get sad because there's a lot of intervention on the other end when we're trying to intervene and get folks to turn around who are in the system, who dropped out of school or whatever. We're trying to do prevention. We're trying to catch these kids early on in school and trying to get them to a place to where they don't have to experience that school to prison pipeline. And it makes me very sad because I've been in a lot of places requesting, can we have help, can we have mentors, can we have people coming to, I'm gonna get teary-eyed here. If you know me, you know I'm gonna cry one, I always cry, so, just don't criticize me, because that's just me. Do they? Okay, good. So anyway, and I forgot what I was saying. Through the prison pipeline, we're asking for intervention. We're asking for more mental health services, more support, because a lot of our children, we get the children that no one else wants in the families. These might, and a lot of times it's the PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome going on, which is huge mental health issues around, even if children didn't have it before they got in school, they have it as soon as a little black kid walks in the room, then they're labeled by, and I don't want to badmouth the teachers because we have amazing teachers, but something's got to give around how our boys, our children are labeled. Now we're a union, so we're for all families, but most of the people, most of our issues are with our black families and what's going on in the Portland Public School system. And there's my phone. That's my time, I guess. I forgot to turn my phone off. So anyway, does anybody have any questions? I think I'm pretty much done. Did I do good, Amy?
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, I think you got some information for us, and they're already.
Yes, I have this is the model code, this is what we're asking for public schools to do. Here's a couple parent union brochures. We don't have our brochures yet from Dignity Schools around the event, but I just wanted to announce that. Sometimes, people want to take that. We're here. We've been here for 5 years, 6 years. We've been working hard, working and just asking for people to support us in any way we can. That would be amazing. We do amazing work, and we're excited about all the possibilities for our families. Thank you so much.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
For the event, is there anything specific that we can imagine that commissioners would do? If I'm hearing we would show up with an element that popped up, HRC, persona, we leave our name tag at home.
Yes. Yeah, just come. I would love for you to come. Want to be on? We have a hospitality committee. We have a phone call committee. We have the experience. We call it experience panel, which we're inviting people now to be on the experience panel. We had an amazing experience panel last year. We had people from all over the state coming and made them commit to supporting our work. So anyway, if you have any kind of suggestions as HRC, maybe we can have someone come to be, from HRC to be a part of our experience panel. That could be a possibility. Some of you are part of other groups and these. We're hoping that you get the word out. Facebook seems the place of choice for a lot of our folks, so we have invites on there, but you can go on the website. I think information's been updated on the website. We have a newsletter if people want to get on the newsletter and see what's going on every month with us. It would be, and we partner strongly with Resolution. We started together because when we started restorative justice at Ritter, and we were there along with them, and pushing back a little bit to say, what about the parents, what about the families who were involved when the children are being corrected or brought in, what about the parents? And so you'll always hear me at a table is, what about the parents? What about the parents? When are we going to, we honor the kids. There's a lot of groups that, make sure students are okay, but then, so my focus on parents and families. And we don't see much of that. And we're hoping that there'll be more of that. So, and some of you are parents, so you might need our help someday.
So we will ask Amy to continue to serve as our conduit to information that will come in about the event and other pieces.
Yeah, are you okay if I share your email phone number?
Yeah,
This
it's
is
fine.
this commission?
Yeah, you guys can call me. Even if you need to talk about something, you know, we're restorative too.
Are you working with Leah or Matt Morton?
That, not really, because we've invited them, we school board, you know, we invited all the school board to come and be a part of everything. And hopefully they will show up. The school, we had what's called a trust circle, and we had school board members show up. So I think they're pretty much on board with us, but I haven't heard that much from that.
Do you have strong representation of Native parents or Native families?
No, it's mostly African. It's mostly African American and white women who have African American children. And, but the coalition, and a lot of those other groups, and that's the thing that I struggle with, because somehow we need to try to figure out how we can come together. We need to figure it out, and that's the sad thing for me too, is how do we come together and work on this issue together?
There's a lot of similar labeling and
Yes.
PTSD, institutionalized racism
Exactly.
against all Native kids throughout the systems too.
Exactly. So what we're doing is we're working on the state discipline committee, which we're coming up with, trying to come up with a white paper or something to recommend to the OEID what discipline should look like. And we were having a cultural competency training, which we pushed to have, and the Native woman who's just hired to do the Native Affairs for ODE is going to be doing the kind of cultural competency trainings. But yeah, if you have any answers, we struggle to try to figure out. We've worked hard to try to figure out how we can, all come together and work on the issue.
And that's maybe a connection that you can make offline.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
So
a connection that
I know I
you
need
should
to go.
Are you leaving right now? Because I had to ask.
No, go ahead.
So,
I just don't.
Yeah, so
wanna
let's
honor the time.
take a couple of very quick questions. We're quite a bit behind. We've got some big pieces that we need to tackle tonight. We're early in our agenda. So if there are things that we can do offline, that would be fantastic.
Your contact information, maybe, so that's fine.
Did you guys get brochures or something? Or no? Okay. Everybody got what they need? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I attended one of your healing circles and your events, and I found it very moving as a former migrant teacher. I've seen things like this go on in schools. And when is the press conference? Which day? Do you know?
It's the Tuesday of that week. It's the week of action is from the 4th through the 11th. And so that Tuesday, we're just trying to work it out because it's.
Oh, you'll let HRC know?
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Great.
Yeah, you guys need to be there.
So the one piece that I feel is something that maybe is additional action that we can look at this model code and education committee, looking into a little bit deeper. Amy, I would like to find what that is.
Oh, yeah, the model code is 100 pages. Look at the model code. One of the things that I would like for somebody on this commission to be on that recommendation committee, if they could.
Well, so yeah, and I wonder if at least we can look at whether it's like a letter of support or something that would state that, because I mean, this says it's presenting a human rights framework for schools, which I think is right along kind of our lines, but I do feel like it requires a bit more insight into what this is actually specifying and how it can be integrated into local schools, at least for the city of Portland. So I feel like that might be an action item, even if it's just like a letter of support, a letter of like we also feel like this framework model code ideal.
I wonder if that's something that might come up through policy.
That's what I was kind of wondering. Yeah.
Okay.
That would be a place to carry it.
Yeah, did you have a question?
I can wait until I'll
Okay.
email you on.
All right. Am I done?
Unless you have anything to add, but thank you very much for
Thank
making
you.
all the time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for
You're
inviting
very
me.
welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Kyle, do you want to give us an update from on the state funding for refugee resettlement?
Yes. I, first of all, will say that I am not an expert on this issue, and I'm just going to convey a message that Polo provided to us at our last executive committee meeting. And that message, I was not, I'm not privy to the state funding part of it. I'm privy to the or we all were privy to the proposal that Polo had for the HRC. And obviously, we don't have state funding capacity. But in our August 22nd executive committee meeting, Polo, who I think everybody knows, but maybe not, he's the coordinator of the new Portlander program for OEHR, and the new Portlander program focuses on integrating our migrant, immigrant, refugee communities into the city of Portland. And so Polo came to us. I think really what raised the issue for him is the crisis, the refugee crisis at the border, and his awareness through his work at the New Portlander program about the immigration crisis in Portland as well, and that a lot of people don't understand what's going on in Portland, and that this is an issue in Portland as well. And so what Polo is hoping to do is to convene a group of leaders in the immigrant and faith communities around Portland to come together and to explore and advocate for solutions to the immigration crisis that is going on here. And what he would like is for one or two members of the Human Rights Commission to participate in that project and potentially to create a task force or maybe simply to just be sort of a hub so that there's an official home for this advisory committee. And I think that Polo's really interested in using the offices of the OEHR and HRC in order to do really what the HRC was formed to do, and that is to become a liaison between the community and our elected officials. And so I think the idea is really to just be that central organizing body where we can bring in the experts, a lot like we did with the HTTF, where you've got like a couple of HRC commissioners in the middle who don't really know that much about the issue yet, and then have people who actually know come in and use the HRC's access to do the things that those people need to do. And so Polo couldn't be here today. He would like to present to the commission eventually, but what he'd really like is to be in touch with anybody who's interested in this issue first. And if you are interested in this issue, talk to me after the meeting today, and then I will let Polo know, or I'll just get you guys together. So if anybody's interested, talk to me after the meeting. And that's that for me.
Thank you, Kyle. So yeah, I think that, you know, if there are folks that are interested in that topic, please do contact Kyle, and he'll serve as our connection to Polo. But I think we will also hear more from those folks somewhere down the line, and efforts that they're going to be making at the statewide level. So, okay, on the next agenda item is number 5, and we wanted to we're a little bit behind schedule, so we'll try to make sure we make plenty of room for this topic, and then maybe we'll start to compress some of the kind of roundup pieces as we move forward here. But what we wanted to do today, as folks probably saw in the email this weekend, and Sonji couldn't be here. I think she had another work commitment to talk more about her role. But Sonji has resigned as the chair, effective immediately. And so we're left right now without a chair and a vice chair. So I think in this space we wanted to do a couple different things. I think talk a little bit as a group about, if folks have any thoughts about how we move forward in transition of leadership, and also I think we should decide tonight if we want to elect an acting chair. The cycle for chair currently in the bylaws, the chair leadership positions end October 31st. They coincide with the terms of office for commissioners. So that's why it is that way. So, one potential way that we could move forward would be to appoint an acting or interim chair for September and October, and then revisit the nomination and election process again for somebody to become the new chair So the one-year period beginning November 1st. So it may be an opportunity for folks in this group who are interested in moving into leadership positions to kind of try on that role for a couple months. But I think, and this is maybe part of the conversation tonight, I think it would be important that we get an acting person in place tonight because there are things that always come up with the HRC that we need to make sure we have the key person to go to and represent the Human Rights Commission in that role. So I want to just make sure to open it up for folks to talk a little bit about either what's been going on now around leadership, thoughts that you might have, or thoughts about whether or not about process and appointing an acting chair for the interim time. And give me just 1 second to start eating.
One thing that, and I'll just jump in here, that I think that Sonji referred to as a difficulty that she had was expectations of the chair and feeling like maybe she wasn't informed properly or wasn't groomed or prepared properly for the role. And so I think if there is anybody who is interested in that leadership position and has questions about that, this would be a good time to ask questions about that.
Is there something we can reference to that specifies that without just, because I recognize that we're like half a capital commission right now also, so I feel like what we have is what is in the room versus is there something that specifies expectations outside of standard kind of chair, vice chair duty?
I know, we did that chart.
There's only one?
Yeah, there's only 4 people who are here.
Oh, okay.
When we did our retreat, when was that?
January?
January, we worked on a role chart that designated different roles for everyone, really. And I don't know how much we've been working off of it, but there's that, and it's new.
Are you referring to the bylaws?
No, I mean, there's the standard, right, the chair and a vice chair do, right? And I don't think any of us at this table need specifications to what those things look like, but what really are the expectations that maybe she didn't feel aligned with or wasn't connected to? Because I think whoever steps into that next role hopefully doesn't fall into the same as happening with her, so.
And I wouldn't know exactly how to answer that for Sonji. But I think Alan and I, as the previous 2 chairs, would speak to what we think are the expectations. But Kate, you had a question.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall, my memory's not always correct. I think that there was some concern about efforts from the HRC not going anywhere. So energy put into the process of how we do things, things taken forth to the staff and council, and feeling a sense of it being blocked. Does that sound familiar? Is that part of it?
I'm not sure.
I'm just checking for clarification. The efforts not going anywhere sounds different than efforts being blocked. Is that 2 different components, or?
Well, that's true, and I think it was probably both.
I think some of it is doing human rights, racial justice, and related work is challenging in any environment, and definitely in Portland. And I think the Human Rights Commission as a body runs up against some of those challenges that are built into what this work is. So some of it's par for the course, and some of it's, I think, specifically challenging in Portland. And some of it might be the history of this body, its relationship with certain officials, although I think that's improved over time. So I'm hoping that's not too gray of a response, and it's not black and white. But I think the nature of this work is challenging. We're running up against all isms. And there's no quick fix, and we're all working full-time. This is a volunteer body, and so what I heard from Sonji, just in some reflecting conversations, is that she was doing a lot of maybe more than what you know, a chair would do in other roles, like helping to pull together an agenda is standard for a chair, lead of a group with staff, you know, and facilitating and helping to facilitate certain decisions and actions. Those are all standard chair, vice chair roles. But in this role, I think there was just a lot more trying to work and finalize some of the internal processes, how we do things, and running up against some of the systems challenges and other things. I think it just kind of all together became more consuming, time consuming than maybe what was anticipated. And that can happen here as a chair or as just a commissioner, just to be clear, I think. So in the past, when we were actually, I remember when we were talking about recruiting for this last round and Sonju stepped up to the plate, there was some conversation about role clarification and trying to make it so that the chair doesn't have to do all that other stuff, so that we can have sustainable seats, like where people aren't turning over quickly, or they feel like they're, you know, adequate in what they're doing and we're all supporting each other. So I don't know if that has to be talked about here, but I think we should alleviate the chair, vice chair from some of that.
Well, what I'm recalling is that Sonji and I wrote a letter to the mayor about divestment, no response.
Yep.
Some of us wanted to submit testimony around the DOJ hearings, and we were told not to. And so what I'm asking is that something that we should be speaking about so that we don't have such high turnover?
So you're talking about being blocked, like from either the bureau level or the city hall level?
Or just ignored.
No, yeah.
And I see that
Well,
as part of
it
this
happens.
work everywhere. I mean, that happens everywhere. I'd like that not to happen at all. I think some of that's improved, but there's room for improvement.
It could be dispiriting.
It can be, and I think
And
that's,
I would just say that when we did this exercise that Sonji led us on, the red light, yellow light, green light, it was telling how many red lights people were not feeling good about their role. And so I would just express my opinion that we need to have some candid conversation and some realistic expectations, and so that we can be a solid, empowered group that knows what to expect.
So, I'm appreciating this conversation and everything, and I agree with everything that's coming up. There's a lot to weigh out. And for this conversation, I mean, I'm hearing the call for what do we do in the short term, and what do we do in the longer term for shifting this so it doesn't happen again. And the call for a conversation, I had a conversation with Kenya about that the other day. I think that's really crucial when you look at all of these things. How we can do that, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure that we need to move into asking somebody to be a leader of this shifting role position right now. That might be just something that launches us back into a safe sense of security, a sense of it's taken care of, when there's really other root things that we need to pay attention to. That's my 2 cents.
Yes, I think there are two different conversations, and I wanted to make sure that we open it up to understand, you know, are there two conversations that we need to have? I think there are. You know, one is, you know, how do we deal with the short-term fact that we don't have any leadership that is required by our bylaws? And then also, how do we rectify the fact that we got to a place where we don't have that leadership? And what are the factors that contribute to that? So I think they are, and I think that only one of those will be solved tonight. But the other one we need to continue to find a way to solve. And I think that's another part of that conversation, exactly how do we kind of finalize that conversation. So I think it is one that we continue to have, and we've had on a couple of occasions. There continue to be kind of moving pieces for us.
Amy, I appreciate what you say, what you mentioned about not just putting someone there to give us that self-soothing, we're good for now, and then, oh, well, you know, it's January 2015, and we're now exactly in the same spot that somebody was. However, just from like day-to-day, what's actually going on, if something were to happen tomorrow, and it were to go through that chain of command or our work plan, that person needs to be apt and ready, and so I think we should not leave today without at least some.
Their person, but we have no chair or vice chair because she resigned.
Right, so there's no
immediately.
a two-in appointment, right? Right, so that's my, for me, that was kind of like, oh, when I got that, I was like, but I was also drafting a good little bylaw. And I wasn't reading my emails at the same time either. But just for clarification.
I wasn't behind you, Christine.
Right? But anyways, I feel like we need to get that done today for sure.
Okay, and so in the spirit of that, I agree, and so we don't fall into leaning on somebody for, I'd like us to do our best to make that contingency plan tonight, or at least to get it started.
I agree, and I like what you said, Shabri, about we should probably understand who should be at that table. And it's not necessarily just folks in this room. You know, I agree that the office probably plays a role in helping us get to a solution. And so I don't think it's just incumbent on us as a group to have that conversation.
And I think before moving on, because we do have two recent chairs, past chairs, it would be great to hear about because since that means that we do have to walk out with something today. Kyle and Alan, I think it'd be great to have your perspective on things that we cannot answer, that we should not answer without sending me, you know, I don't want to put words or feelings or thoughts or, you know, perspective without being here. I tried to put your emails so we can see if there was specific things.
And after you guys do that, can we maybe talk about, do we nominate somebody today, or do we, because we're running low on time. We are about 5 minutes over for this section, so.
And only 5 minutes away from the next one.
So I might have gotten a little lost, but is there a way that we can set another meeting to talk about the contingency
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
now and then move into nomination, or however that process is going?
So,
Yes?
so we'll definitely talk about the contingency next meeting then?
So do we?
I'm asking for that to happen.
So I'm not sure, do we have something scheduled, for instance, prior to the, so we could do it the way we did before, to do it, to have that meeting an hour before this meeting? Is that a good way to do it, or to set it a whole separate time like we did that other special meeting?
Or do you want to have it right after this?
That's a little late, right? 'Cause we're probably talking about a good hour, hour and a half meeting. That put us all the way to 8 o'clock to get night.
I'd be in trouble.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Plus we
think
have to have 2 meals then.
I want to be clear that we're all on the same page. So the contingency plan I'm hearing is maybe not just an hour, it's communicating with OEHR, looking for what is our long-term, bigger, I liked Kenya's word when she used it with over the phone, we need a big shift. So that's a shift, we need a big shift.
Yeah.
So
Somebody take minutes.
what I'm imagining is a meeting that works on, or a gathering, or a series of gatherings that work on that next shift. To me, if that gets rolling into place tonight, we set up something for that, I would feel comfortable in voting for somebody to be an interim.
So do you want to try to schedule the times for that, or just schedule some folks to work on setting that up?
I think you should try to schedule some time.
Yeah.
The more attenuated it becomes, the less likely it's going to happen. I think your idea about doing it before the next meeting, that's worked in the past. It's hard to get here a little earlier, but it's also hard to take another whole.
The other downside of it, though, is that that's actually a full month from now. And so I'm wondering if we need to do something in the interim, say 2 weeks from now.
Well, or,
And then-
sorry.
Yeah, because we're going to do it in a series. I don't think we do it a month at a time. That's what we just thought of that.
Or is it a task, is it person-based? You know, what individuals here are interested in doing their best to work on it as fast as they
Right.
can?
And then set up a meeting of those folks
Yeah.
2 weeks from now.
Yeah, and, I'll say this too. and I'm gonna be off the commission in 2 months, but I know for a fact that one of the issues that has led us here is all of us saying we're going to do something and then not doing it. And that leading to a level of frustration that is very, very difficult to deal with. So to the extent that everybody is going to commit to doing something like this, I think that it's, one thing that we should do as a commission, and I've been thinking a lot about this since, getting Sunju's email, is really, I think, revisit like why we became commissioners in the first place and really recommit to this project and make it a priority and not just decide that we're not going to do the thing that we said we were going to do. And I think that we can be a stronger commission if we take our commission more seriously internally. And so I just think that that's an important thing to say.
I just wanted to remind everyone here that we have tools that integrate the commission. We have a work plan, we have a strategic plan, we have a mission, we have limits, we have job descriptions, and those are in that notebook. And I think that everyone at this table, and those that could not come tonight, I would so appreciate it if everyone would take the time, and I know it's a big chunk, of looking that over carefully so that we're all on the same page and we're not adrift. I mean, people who are at this table and people who are no longer here worked a long time on those tools to give us an integrated program and a way to work. And I think we should honor that and return to it, review it, and use it. Because we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
So let's step one step back and put that contingency kind of meeting and track in place again. So does it make sense then to do it, to set up a meeting of that group in 2 weeks?
That's the 17th, the day of the CPRC meeting.
So it would maybe not be on the Wednesday, or it could be Tuesday. So who's interested in participating in that process? Is that
And this is really basically going over the bylaws and adding something to the bylaws.
Bigger than that, it might include changing the bylaw, recommending a change to the bylaws, but looking at all these things that are dysfunctional and why, identifying, and I would say making recommendations for changes, and looking at what works.
That doesn't mean we're just something outside of it should have some previous understanding, because I raised my hand, but
Yeah,
I only know a little bit.
I'm willing to be part of that group.
Okay.
I'm willing to.
I'm willing to.
Linda, do you feel like you can organize us? Do you have time to organize us?
Okay, so it's going to be Amy and Shipley, is that right, Shipley, are you volunteering?
And I'm
And
happy-
Diallo and,
And I'm happy to join if it's not the 17th, or if it's not at 4:30. So, okay.
We'll work it out so you can join.
Yeah.
So actually not the 17th. So I also have something in the morning.
my calendar is open the last time.
Anytime before noon. Any day. Except that Friday. So, Monday through Thursday before noon, you would like to decide on that?
I'm sorry.
Or should we meet up after this?
I'm not
meeting?
prepared to, I have no calendar with me, my phone's dead, so.
Do you want me to send out an email and
Yes,
we
that's
can do
what I,
this?
that's what I was really referring to.
So you might-
That'd be great.
Go ahead and include other folks in that too, that just, if there's anybody that wants to join in by email, then we'll have them do that also.
Okay.
That was either not here or
And Kenya.
And
What are we
Kenya,
calling
definitely, yeah.
this group? What are we call, I'm taking notes for
Oh.
contingency parking right now, but what is this, how should I refer to this?
leadership remap.
Okay.
Leadership eval.
LTTF, the Leadership Transition Task Force.
I like that.
All right.
Down.
So let's talk a little bit about process on the second part, because I do want to move this forward. So I think we do need to identify somebody, whether or not that person is going to be called acting chair or the interim chair, or but a person that will serve and have the duties that are outlined in the bylaws. Because my suggestion, especially if we want to do this evening, is that we receive nominations for that position, and then close the nominations, and then vote with the members that are here. And that person assumes the duties of the chair until October 31st. And then if the LTTF hasn't ironed out the pieces that need to be, then we'll need to figure out how we'll proceed at that point. But that would be my suggestion as to how we handle process this evening. Comments, questions,
So
concerns?
the length of time you said was through?
Through October 31st, which is the end of the current
It would be the end of Sonji's term.
term.
To replace Sonji? I'm sorry, I've been absent and I didn't take a phone call. I don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, so Sonji says resigned as chair, so we don't have anybody in the chair or vice chair position. So the feeling is that before we leave tonight, that we be able to elect the person that is the interim or acting chair, so that as HRC business comes up outside this meeting, that we have somebody that we can point to that can act on behalf of the HRC. They're going to have to organize the executive committee meeting, and essentially serve as the point person for the Human Rights Commission.
Do you know why she stepped down? Maybe we can leave her so the next person can won't have the same problems or barriers.
And that's what we're talking about. That's what that committee is.
Yeah, exactly. So that one, and so actually,
We need another committee to discuss that?
No, it's,
We just don't have time today.
and she's not
And she's
here.
not here.
So putting words in her mouth, or, I mean, we have a bit of what Kate mentioned, that she thought were behind, were other issues, but we also didn't have time to really delve into that. Thanks for keeping it real. So yes, another committee.
yeah, it's not so much a committee, I think it's a space away from here to go to the other.
My sense is that this will be longer than a 1 month process. So while I wouldn't say that it couldn't be taken care of by then, I would say that whoever assumes the position might expect about a 3-month, more of a 3-month process.
Well, and you can always change it too later.
Exactly. I don't wanna give
Because
somebody
we did that when Sonji didn't want to take over until January 1st of last year, and I just extended until January 1st. So you can always change it later.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's like changing lives.
Sorry, but is there a call also scheduled to deal with this? Or did that already happen? 'Cause I didn't really
So
look
just
at-
call
Yes.
planning, I don't really know what exactly.
Is that
what
this
she's
Friday?
doing.
This Friday.
I emailed her about that.
Okay.
She actually sent a follow-up email to everybody this afternoon saying, I haven't got, because nobody touched base with her with expressing any interest in that call. So she sent a follow-up email saying, I'll still do it if anybody wants me to, but I haven't gotten any interest, so I'm planning on not doing it unless I hear.
Okay.
And I'm paraphrasing, that's not exactly what she said, but yeah, so if anybody wants to have that call with her, then get in touch with her, but otherwise, she's gonna cancel it.
Do we know the time? Because that might be
September 5th, from 8:30 to 9:30.
8:30 to 9:30 in the morning?
Friday.
So that might be a good time then to actually begin that process and with Sonji on the call to get, for folks to start to get an understanding about what she sees as the transition, as roles in the transition.
Then can you, Linda, respond to her and let her know who of us are interested in maybe making that call as per our capacity?
I actually think I can, I wasn't sure at the time, but.
And you can actually, I think this is her email.
Yeah.
There's
We might wanna
like
confirm
a
with her
joint
so she
meeting
knows
thing,
that there are
yeah.
folks. So I think it's a good way for folks that are interested in the process to learn from Sonji at least and start that conversation. I think that's totally fair.
So who's going to be on that? Shabri, Linda?
Is it really, it's truly 8:30?
8:30 to 9:30,
8:30
so.
to
Okay, I'll be on, I'll plan to be on the phone.
Okay, Alan, Linda, and Shabri. Anyone else on that phone?
Can't do it at that
Okay.
time.
So again, so maybe we ought to do this by motion. Oh, actually,
Do we just nominate
we'll
people?
just have to nominate people, and then in that nomination, we'll indicate the dates. But I still think that we'll initially make it October 31st, just to make it consistent with bylaws.
I nominate Amy to take on the role of acting chair through October 31st.
Nominate Damon to take on the role of acting chair for October 31st.
I nominate Shabri. Take on the wrong thing. Chair, October 31st.
So let's check in.
Can we nominate multiple people?
Yeah. So
You guys.
But hang on, so let's at least check in with the folks that have been nominated to see, Amy, do you accept the nomination to be interim acting chair? What do you want?
Interim,
Interim.
or acting.
Acting.
Yes.
And then it was Damon? Damon?
I decline.
Damon declines. Shabri?
Are we gonna do the same thing for vice chair?
Yeah.
Well, we could do that. I mean, there's no rules here. This is Wild West right now.
Which might not be a bad idea, because again, if you
Chair,
remember,
vice chair, can we do
remember,
that until, can we just do, that I accept the nomination if it's for vice chair?
Okay, I will amend my nomination. I nominate Amy to be chair through October 31st and Shabri to be vice chair through October 31st.
I accept that.
any other nominations apparently for chair or vice chair?
I'm gonna nominate Ashley for chair.
Thank you. This has come up before. I declined because I really want to focus on the substantive stuff. I do a lot of process stuff at work, and I like to get my hands dirty before everything. But thank you.
So let the meeting is reflected, Ashley was honored to get declined. Anyone else before we continue? Nominations going once?
I also nominate Kyle to.
I decline.
Let the meeting is reflect that Kyle was not honored to get declined.
Thank you, though, I'm honored.
And his daughter appreciates his declaration. So, nominations going twice. Nominations going.
I like the nominations. I feel comfortable.
I can reach out
Nominations.
So I would entertain a motion that we vote, that we elect Amy as acting chair and Shabri as acting vice chair for a period to end as of October 31st.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? I guess I'd amend that to say to be acting in those roles per the bylaws. So we can review those, need further instruction on what that means. All right, no further discussion? So,
Yeah, oh, sorry, you have to mention, sorry.
because we're just gonna call for the vote now.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
I didn't mean to stop.
So all in favor by show of your hand, and aye?
You can vote.
Any nays? Show your hands. No? Any abstentions? By show of hands. All right. Congratulations,
Thank you.
Amy and Shabri. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Amy and Shabri, thank you.
Who seconded? Sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking notes, Ashley.
And so,
I was gonna say, can we just simply request a rapid meeting? I know we're having this other meeting with about contingency plan, but because this is essentially what Kenya would do with Kenya and Dante to happen in the next,
A rapid meeting, yeah, yeah.
like,
Week?
week. Yeah, I have a huge event coming up and it's kind of kills me, but, two week and a half?
Okay, could it be right after?
The week of the 14th, or the week, whatever's after the 13th. Anything after the 13th would be like actually live this, okay.
And so you do have Kyle and I as past chairs also, so feel free to lean on us or for questions or other information you might need. And Sonji too. I think Sonji is just stepping away from that leadership role but not from the commissions.
With
All right,
Kenya
so-
and Dante specifically in the next couple of weeks. stepping in the back.
Thank you so much. We are a little behind, so Mr. Commissioner, I'll continue running the meeting.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Linda.
I have a real quick question. So I'm going to be calling the meeting and arranging the time and date for the Leadership Transition Task Force. And Dante and Kenya are also to be at that meeting, so I notify them as well. Or are you talking about a different meeting?
2 different meetings.
Okay, I just wanted to check.
But I actually think that the call that's happening on Friday can serve as that initial meeting, right? Because that, we're gonna talk about 3 meetings. We're talking about a call and the meeting in the next 3 weeks. Right, I think that suffices. I don't think we need to get another meeting.
The idea was to at some point involve Dante and Kenya. I would say Kenya can be invited to the call plus the next meeting that we do. But then at some point, I think we'll be planning a meeting with Dante.
Thanks for the clarification. But I don't think some of those.
All right, well, thank you for wrapping up that topic. Let's move on now, and we'll give, maybe we can, I have 15 minutes for this next section. We're actually about 10 minutes, 10, 15 behind, so we'll move quickly through the update sections. But the next piece on our agenda is to give an update about the Homelessness Solutions Forum that is being planned for this fall. Linda, do you want to do that or do you want me to?
I'm ready to, and you can help me out here.
All right.
I am thrilled to announce that we are going to have the Homelessness Solutions Roundtable on November 21st. Our strong partner in this is Inner City Initiatives. This is in conjunction on the same day, coordinating with the Day of Homeless Awareness. We have some really strong partners on board, like Street Roots Israel Bayer, and many people from all over town that we've interviewed. Thank you for putting up with a very lengthy planning process that we went through. We got some amazing presenters lined up for this, and the solutions have been a moving target through the city for the past year and a half. We've identified some really good ones that are workable, and we've identified the right kinds of partners. So we think this is really going to move Portland forward and coalesce public opinion around some viable, some workable solutions. I'm doing the logistics, and I need someone to help me with that. We need everyone to be present on November 21st, and the time frame would be, the event itself will go from 9:30 to 1 o'clock. We'll have a lunch. We're going to, thanks to the generosity of First Unitarian Church, we're using their entire physical plant for this. We're going to have up to 200 people coming. And I need someone especially to be working on logistics, because this has been a moving target in terms of dates. I had planned a trip that has been bought and paid for, and I will not be able to attend this roundtable. So I need 1 or 2 people to help me with logistics, to go down to the church, look it over, see about the physical plant, see how the day will work together so that lunches are delivered, so that things run smoothly. So be thinking if you'd like to have that role. It's going to be an interesting and fun process. And I'm just thrilled to announce this. I think this is going to be a really big contribution to our city.
Bring a couple pieces.
Yes, anything else from our committee, please?
So the folks that we've partnered with are the Interfaith Initiative that's being led by the folks at New City Initiative and their Village Support Network, who are trying to build on this faith-based network of helping folks who are without housing, families. Family, I'm sorry, you're exactly right. So their focus actually this year is on family homelessness. And so the Day of Homelessness Awareness, which is an annual event, happens on November 21st this year. There's actually a walk that highlights the effort it takes for homeless families to get through their day. So it will begin at First United Methodist and the Goose Hollow Shelter, where families can stay overnight but need to get up and leave the shelter in the morning. So the walk then will proceed to a couple other places along the way in the downtown area that provide services to families that are experiencing homelessness, and then end at First Unitarian Church where there's a day shelter. So it's intended to mimic the life and the day of a homeless family. And then we connected with them. We had our forum idea working at the same time and connected with this very strong effort that was going on. 2 years ago, there was a forum called Linking Arms that followed the Day of Homelessness Awareness. And so we wanted to bring our forum kind of in the same fashion and connect with them. So there are two pieces to this day of the event. And so obviously the HRC piece, we need everybody there to help us facilitate sessions and do other things. We also want to help support as we can the walk, which begins 7 o'clock in the morning. And it is a very moving event. And so we'll have more details on what it will take for HRC folks to help us with the forum. But that's kind of the layout of the full day and our partnership with the Interfaith Mission. So that is where we are. It is a very, very exciting partnership, and we're very excited to help move this forward. So that's where we are with that. The other big fall wintertime event is the Emily G. Gottfried Human Rights Awards. And who's updating us on that?
I will, but I'd also like to ask Shabri if she'll provide an update. She's been the workhorse on this thing and has been awesome. So I think she should be in the spotlight. So go, please.
Thank you for all that you gave us before that. Really, we're excited. It'll be December 11th at the Rose Room. Abel Gordley will be our keynote speaker. And we have a meeting, is it tomorrow? No, that's Wednesday. Okay, it's coming up really soon to do some more stuff. But the major thing that we need to know, date, time, location, we have that. I was able to get what I consider a pretty low price for a plated. It'll be very similar to what we had before, so just the very simple heavy cob, that meaning full chicken breast, bacon, option, eggs, everything, and you can pull off, obviously, if you need it plated with a dessert in front of us, roll, kind of this standard, lunch thing. The Rose Room has recently been revamped, and so it looks a lot better. And so it'll be there's exactly what we need, coffee afterwards, nothing fancy about it, literally like the bare bones that you can really garner for such an event on stage, kind of standard thing. And I know that we're finalizing awardees and stuff, and nominations and all that other kind of stuff. We still have time, but we have a time, date, location, keynote speaker who's excited. So it's just all the other stuff to make it actually an event.
Very exciting. So another great event that we have on our slate. So thank you for working on that.
Thank
you.
you.
Question. I know that Kyle's got a real quick announcement about it also, but
really quick. So although the necessary logistics seem like they're in place, but did we get floral or any flowers, or can anybody donate? Okay. Yeah, can somebody donate?
I didn't know what he said. I didn't know what he was saying. That's right. Yes.
What?
Some of us did.
Okay. Yeah, but I know that last year, I think you donated flowers.
No, it was.
With Northwest Natural, I think donated their region. So yeah, that'd be a
No,
great.
it's my job to work on the centerpieces, and I'm just waiting for some information about who to liaison with at Mona to see what their plans are, and then I'm going to go out and be looking.
And you asked me that question, and we can do whatever the heck we want to do, because anything we ask from them will be something they have to pay for. So essentially, they'll have kind of the standard, and I'm sorry I didn't respond to you.
That's okay.
As you're
I know
saying
you're
it,
a
I'm
busy
like,
person.
oh, I remember that email. So,
Not necessary logistics, but it's something.
yeah, for sure. So I mean, if we can get something donated, that's the idea. For however many tables. As far as I know, we want to keep it at 100. We do not want to go any further. And I think I mentioned growth possibly at 115, just based upon us and like possibly 100 guests.
We gotta be careful because it sells out.
Yeah, it
So
does. And-
even 100, 115 is real easy, I think, for us to get it.
Yeah,
Right now,
no, for
it's
sure.
Fantastic, so.
And we threw around the idea at our last meeting, we'll talk about it again next week, about some scholarships for people who might want to attend that don't want to pay. Because we do charge and we donate all of the money to the charity of the award recipient's choice. So they don't pay for, so none of the money goes to us or the city. And in fact, this year, as opposed to last year, we're actually paying more. And I want to announce that the executive committee had to make a choice quickly when we were deciding whether to book the Rose Room for these things. And we got approval from the executive committee and Dante to increase the budget to up to $3,000 for the event. We don't think we'll get there. It's about $1,500 or give or take a few for the room, the food, everything else. And then last year we spent about $850 on awards and incidental expenses. So we just have that ceiling. We don't think we'll reach it, but that's been the approved amount. The executive committee had to kind of act fast to do that. If anybody has an objection to that for the budget, feel free to speak up, and we can talk about how to massage the budget.
So that's a ceiling of 3,000 for the total event in itself.
Total event, yeah, and we think we'll probably be more in the lines of about 25. Yeah.
Well, and we don't need to try to be conservative, because there's a lot of money left there.
I didn't say that.
I said that.
We also have
Yeah.
all the way through July to spend, or June,
Yeah.
clearly to spend it, so we're not very far into the fiscal year.
Right.
Well, and the good thing about that is I know that there was conversation before around having it at a location and it being something people look forward to coming back to. And I know that that's certainly a part of an event experience, but as someone who does experience, brand experience for a lifetime, it is super important. We can talk about strategic reasons for those things. Rose Room is there, not going anywhere, they just revamped it. And so something like that being there, while it's not something that I can contract out right away, you can most certainly usually ask for and set up expectations for duplicate events coming up and something similar. So until, if we get budget, we're like, ooh, we might have some extra fancy croutons or something, like those are things that we can continue to look at, but the thing is that $3,000 should suffice.
Yeah. So the other thing is
Yeah.
that we do have nominations for all 3 awards open currently. So
Have I mixed it out?
yes, it has, but we're going, the website actually says that the nominations are open until September 25th. We thought it was actually September 5th for a while, but I think, we'll talk about it on Wednesday, but I think we'll be okay. We're going to be deciding on elected officials that we want to invite to do the introductions, things like that, just like last year. And so we'll be talking about that next week. But please, if people have nominations for emerging leader, for outstanding organization, and for lifetime achievement, please get those to Kenya so that we can have a big group to choose from. And it's a lot of fun to go through that process, especially if we have a lot of participation from all of the commissioners. And if you've got others who you think might have good ideas, definitely solicit nominations from those people as well.
That's a great thing to get on the Facebook, there's social media pieces, so those of us who are admins on Facebook, we can post it on there, and then if you guys are hopefully following the HRC page, you can forward it.
Tweet it out.
And I think also forwarding the email that went out about nominations, I think is also important. If folks haven't sent that out to their networks, please do so and ask for nominations, ask for your networks to nominate people.
Can I add a request for that email to be resent to us for some reason? I don't remember. But
We
might,
said the same network, but,
yeah.
we can send it out.
Maybe just an updated,
Just one
Just
more.
reminder.
Yeah,
Just a
reminder.
reminder.
Yeah.
Like dates, yeah.
Then people can just re-forward it to their email networks.
That'd be great.
And people might get it several times, but there's no harm in that.
Yeah.
What time does dinner start?
It's
Lunch.
a lunch.
It's a lunch.
So glad I asked.
And it starts at 11. Is that right? 10:30 or 11? I think it's 11.
11:30?
No, 11:30.
Oh, is it 11:30?
What you were looking at was my time for the room.
Oh, okay.
As far as I know,
I think
it's,
11:30 to 1, right?
11:30 to 1.
that I think is probably ideal. Yeah, I just asked for a whole bunch of hours.
Great.
That were around that time, there were enough for us to get into, we had to
Yeah,
do,
you get in and.
for it to occur and us to leave.
Thank you so much. That is fantastic. So that is another big date to circle on your calendar for HRC folks to show up for lunch that day over at the Rose Garden. All right, let's move on to, we're 10 minutes away from public comments. So let's see how much of the committee, task force, and liaison updates we can get in before we ask for public comments at 6:10. Let's start out with our friends at CL''ear. Oh no, CL:'ear.
Yes, the Committee on Law Enforcement Advocacy and Review.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, CLE.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
It evokes images of transparency.
Right.
Wonderful.
So, if you guys don't know the mission already, it is to promote and protect the rights of community members and visitors in and around the city of Portland as they interact with law enforcement. We do this by observing and reviewing law enforcement policies and practices, and by advocating for changes that uphold human rights. So some of our scope for this committee, which is also recommended by the July 2013 roundtable, are to conduct community trainings around law enforcement and human or civil rights, to assess the impact of city law enforcement policies as well as community concerns that are outside the work of the CPRC, to advocate with groups like the mayor's office, bureaus in charge of law enforcement, and other law enforcement bodies, including private firms and oversight bodies. And some of our issue focuses include Portland Police Bureau policy and gang dollars, city policy and crime ticketing, private security and parking enforcement, company policy, and the current Department of Justice negotiations and agreements.
Yeah, just everything there in italics is actually pulled from the roundtable report
Right.
recommendations.
Some other projects we'll probably be doing are hosting roundtables when issues arise, receiving testimony regarding law enforcement concerns, collaborating and attending events with other oversight advocacy bodies, and making recommendations to city council, the chief of police, the police bureau commissioner, sheriff's office, and other law enforcement leadership, and submitting public statements. So, should I go into this?
I don't know that it's necessary, but we're developing communication and clarity among ourselves about how clear is different than CPRC. So there's a little bit of, it's a couple of paragraphs there, and I want to say that communication is also a work in progress. It's a live document, so, and I think we're interested in hearing feedback about the defining, the distinguishing between those two groups, as you guys see fit. So please bring it on.
So that's just about the committee. One big project that we're going to be working on currently for the next couple months probably is Know Your Rights trainings. It's a project that will include possibly many aspects, including a PowerPoint and video.
In different languages.
Right. So a brief about the project is to disseminate that information and trainings for encounters with law enforcement that's relevant and accessible to a wide diversity of residents, workers, and visitors in Portland. Should I really just read?
No, I think I would let folks just read through that and make them aware that that's kind of what you're working on, especially since, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just to clarify the timing on this, we're right now in an exploratory phase of it, to understand where the need is specifically, and so we're looking at floating dates for a kickoff. We want to be attending events related to the topic, to be gathering information and communicating with the community about what's needed. So we're looking at doing all of this, having this project completed by July. So that gives us a lot of leeway and flexibility, hopefully that will work out with OEHR. And with the budget, just submitted a budget and we're gonna, I didn't put it into the pages because I get the sense that we're gonna be wanting to communicate with OEHR some about that. And I think we're also interested in programmatically speaking with Dante about this too.
You might think about maybe moving that deadline, or maybe moving that goal date to June,
Yeah.
just to get yourself into that budget, that
Yeah, good point.
2014 and 15 budget cycle. That would be helpful to all of us, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
CLE,
This is
colon
beautiful.
AR.
This is beautiful work, and I really appreciate how you linked the past roundtable, how this gives HRC continuity with what people asked for, and it's very important work.
One last thing, sorry. Emmanuel started us off with this committee really strong and supported us with a lot of starting energy. And then just recently, Diallo and I have assumed to be co-chairs.
This is exciting, and I think it's absolutely time relevant in so many ways. I think just in light of everything that went down and is continuing to kind of bubble up from Ferguson, I have a lot of people reaching out and talking about questions, specifically saying like, it would be great if people knew their rights. And I was like, oh, that's awesome, because that's what you guys are doing. So I specified at the time, just so you know, that there is work there, that's happening. I wonder if, without pigeoning yourself into a hole as far as a date and things like this can happen, if there's a way to kind of cascade the fact that this work is occurring. I think that what you've done here is fantastic, and I think that there are ways that you can market this out so that people are aware of active things that are happening that are apropos. I mean, this is going on before things like Ferguson, but I mean, that one conversation I had on Facebook of all things like helped, but I feel like that there could be more that could go out so folks know that this is stuff that, not necessarily that it was happening beforehand, but that it's relevant work that's occurring, even if they don't really see it until April of 2015. Like, it'd be cool if folks knew what to expect, kind of like a keep your eyes peeled for, such and such. Yeah.
It's a great idea. Did you want to add to anything, Kate?
Only that we really don't know what's going to happen in the coming months. I expect that there will not be an indictment, and that there will be reaction to that fact. There's not an indictment, and so we're not even sure a kickoff is going to be necessary. We may actually be, that timeline is flexible so that should we need it, we can respond accordingly.
Right, and that's why I'm wondering if it's, I think we're at a time where we can talk about work occurring and look forward to something happening, because then it also is a place for folks to reach out to when and if something does occur before.
We talked about how do we best gather information. So it could be a twofold. This is what we're up to, and we're gathering information. We want feedback about what you need. What do you need to hear and get clarification on, and perhaps in what way do you want to hear it?
But I want to just also add that the point of it was to get the information out as fast as possible to as many people. So it would actually be a link that we would invite people to just put on their websites and to spread freely. And so what we would love to hear is your recommendations on the first 3 languages that we tried.
All right, well, thank you, folks, for clear. 6:09, is there a 1-minute update from the folks at policy? Do you have a quick update on policy, or?
I'll yield.
Okay. How about HTTF?
October 18th is our next outreach, or October 18th is our goal for our next outreach for victims of crime who then we identify as trafficking victims. We're looking to do it in Woodburn.
Yay!
And so we were going to do it in September and had to push it back because we couldn't find a venue that would do it without making the city an insured. And so I can't commit the city to being insured for a building that may or may not fall over. So we have located a couple of other locations, hopefully shooting for October 18th at the Woodburn Grange Hall is what we're shooting for. And again, that's going to be another one of these events where we're going to be providing free legal advice to trafficking or to victims of crime, identifying trafficking victims out of that group, and then providing them with social and comprehensive, or legal and comprehensive social services. So that's our goal. I will keep everybody updated on the dates, and we will be having, finally, our public service announcement in connection with that event, which we've also been putting off because we've been waiting for our venue, which we have to announce in the public service. So,
Yay, I can go.
yeah, good. So that's my 1 minute, sorry.
Question, are you working on a leadership transition for that committee?
Yep. I am going to be approaching, well, I'll just say this now, if anybody is interested in Human Trafficking Task Force leadership, please do talk to me about it. I'm, as you know, going to be leaving the commission October 31st. I won't let, I mean, I might put it off if I have to, just so that HTTF can survive until somebody else comes on. But I'm definitely going to stay on as a community member of the HTTF. So the transition period will be kind of non-existent because we'll just keep working together. So please do get a hold of me if you're interested in doing something like that. We need someone, and it's a great group of very, very active, committed people who you can really count on it, and it's just growing. It's a really neat group.
Prominent players in the area. Thank you, Kyle. Exciting stuff. So tune in to Univision for the PSA.
That's right.
Is that where it's going to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's apologize to the esteemed public for delaying their public comments, but are there folks signed up for public comment? Like, can you? Is anyone signed up?
More than you.
We have Mike Tabor.
Mike, you can move to the front so you can be on camera.
I'll make it real quick, not long-winded. I just wanted to, with Jeff being gone and Kenya being in that position, the agenda hasn't really been posted up on the website. And it would be nice if we could see the agenda, and with a request to maybe even keep it up a little bit longer. Because when you go to the you guys' website, it's hard to see what you guys are really involved in doing. If you don't know what the agenda is, you can't see the minute meetings. You kind of just look at some old documents that are up there. And so if you can kind of keep that up for a little longer, or for the public to kind of at least see what you're doing for your website. So,
Agenda specifically, minutes as well.
well, the agenda of what the upcoming meeting could be about, so you might go, oh, I want to go and participate in that, looks good. You know, and then once the meeting happens, if it quickly pulls down and then it's just blank for 2 weeks, you don't know what you missed, what happened during it, just kind of a little showing what's going on, and then maybe, I see the CRC, sometimes their minutes will stay up in the agenda a little longer on the left-hand column, and that's good, but I just wish you guys' stuff was up there. And that's really all I had to say, except for a small side note. There's still no door on the men's restroom in the park, and it's been almost a year, and I just find that really disgusting and derogatory. And most of the people who use that park are homeless people, I would think, and it's men, and that park is being used quite a bit, and there's no reason for no door on a bathroom.
That's Lonsdale, right, Mike?
Yeah. And so I'm going to ratchet up some of my activism on that too, and if the conversation comes up, maybe you could put a word in if you feel like having privacy on a bathroom door is important. Yeah. That's all I had to say, yeah.
There certainly is a bathroom problem down there. The women's bathroom has been closed. And I was attending an event and I had to use the men's, and I had to get somebody to stand outside, you know, so that guys wouldn't come in. And it was just so disrespectful to women to not have that restroom open.
I didn't know the women's was even closed.
Yeah.
It's even worse, in a way. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.
Next person is Levon Easter. Easter.
Come on up, Levon.
You know, make me walk that huge row. I'm taking my traditional place and just staying out here, but I'm not Damon. Okay, I want to first announce that this is not as a PCOD commissioner, this is as a person who happens to float around OEHR a lot and happens to know what's going on PCOD. But as I was listening to the discussion going on earlier about your, you know, how do we deal with the fact that we have sometimes people who don't follow through on commitments and all these different things. These are conversations that I happen to know happen in PCOD also. And PCOD has not discussed this, but I have discussed this with some other people about actually bringing to OEHR a suggestion that we think that an intervention for the whole OEHR office, which then trickles down into each of the commissions and councils, might be of value, because I think we're all struggling with how do we get people to show up at meetings, how do we get people to follow through on commitments, you know, and all these different things, and how do we deal with all this transition, how do we make it clear, how do we orient people to what the work is that we're actually trying to do. And so I just wanted to say, I don't know if, I know that we're two different commissions and everything, but I don't know if there's a way to get everybody working together on the same page a little bit, because we're all struggling with the same things. And I just think that there's some value to finding a way to have some conversations across the groups and everything. And do I see?
Yeah, I have it here. So this like really parallels with what you were saying about a day to recommit to this work and talk about why we chose to be commissioners. I think it'd be cool to just have that with all bodies, to not separate just us talking about why we chose to be human rights commissioners, but also maybe hear from PCOD and other people. Why don't all
And
just
the
put together?
Portlanders Council.
Right. And a way for us to also get to know people and PCOD, get to know people in the Office of Equity, why they do this work.
There's a lot of training that can overlap as well, training and orientation that can overlap.
Action.
And
Absolutely.
while we're on that topic, I've been talking with Irene Konev, who does that as well. So she's even suggested that we take a look and collaborate with her on the orientation that they do for CRC members. So there's a lot we could do with that.
Well, wonderful. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, I really appreciate the fact that you have your public comment at the end, because when things like this come up, there is an opportunity to have this conversation, whereas if you have the public comment at the beginning, we would never have this opportunity until next month. By then, I'll probably forget it. You know? So you guys have made this an easy conversation to have right now and everything. So thank you, and I love the fact that you have your roles and responsibilities and all that paperwork. I think that, you know, some of your paperwork is really good.
Thanks. Anyone else signed up? Kenya?
Then the last person is Charles.
Charles? Yeah, come on up, Charles.
Hello, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Good evening. I always add that, I guess we'll speak first to the question of official labeled leadership, acting chairs and stuff like that. I'm not that familiar with the formation of the Human Rights Commission, but I would encourage you all to advocate, even though you're appointed by the city commission or city commissioners, that you interpret your roles with as little guidance from the OEHR as possible. I think the strength of this body is in independence. So, or as much independence as you can wrest from the city bureaucracy. So I would encourage you to have that conversation and then tell the OEHR, and if it leaks to some citizens or citizen journalists, your own concerns about how to make the HRC the most effective body it can be. And then, once you have that vision, we can worry about both yourselves and your allies in the community micromanaging the political ripples about how do we balance ruffling the feathers of elected officials with getting the jobs done that need to be done. So I would just encourage you to take in mind the approach rather than saying, OEHR, what do you think is what we need to do to have this leadership work, to look more at how we can have effective leadership, then what are we going to tell the OEHR to make that happen? And I want to congratulate or apologize or condone whoever stepped forward to be the acting chairs for the 2 remaining months. Obviously, I'm working with some friends of, such as Case with 350 to make a climate march happen here in Portland in solidarity with New York. And when you're working with organizations that are essentially all volunteer, it's hard to have them be your friends and assign tasks and balance that. So I want to thank you all for your efforts in that regard, not to be too hard on yourself when something slips through the cracks. I'm a little curious when we met at the beginning of June, because it doesn't seem like I've ever come here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But the minutes that are online for says June 4th, 2014, from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. So, and I public comment at the bottom, and I'm pretty sure my public comments have always happened after 6 o'clock. So, even though now that we have an acting chair and an acting vice chair, I can stalk them and see about making sure that the minutes accurately reflect the ways that this Commission of Good People tries to help the almost as good people in the elected office in OEHR do the best for the citizens, especially citizens who have the least privilege here in our community, people in their communities of color or communities of poverty. And that's all I have for y'all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? That's it. Anybody else who did not sign up who would like to offer public comment at this time? No one's so inspired? All right, well, we have a few folks of the committees. We have about 5-10 minutes left that might need to give updates. CPRC, I'm the only person, I don't actually have a good CPRC update. Look at my notes. We got an update also about the Black Male Achievement Initiative at CPRC. And we revisited the folks from ClearPoint, now we revisited our work plan around the plan to end racial profiling, which is like a 2009 document, I want to say. So we're looking at recommitting to the work that is done around that. We meaning CPRC. Also, we learned that Captain Pat Walsh, who has been a member of CPRC since its beginning, if you didn't know, is moving on to become the chief of police in California somewhere, near where his family is located. So he's a great loss. He was a fantastic bureau member, and we're sorry to see him leave. Those are CPRC updates. CDC, I'm assuming we heard all we needed to hear, since they are our partners in the Homelessness Solutions Forum. Nominating committee, I do not believe has been activated yet, but Malloy probably needs to, because we know that we, Sam will play some, oh, Sam got 2 things on the plate. Okay. Yes, because we know that we have some openings that will be coming October 31st. We believe that Buell will become one of the first HRC members to be term limited off of the committee, and we believe Kyle will be leaving at that time, though that's not for certain. We almost like to say until it actually happens. All right, and the final committee update that we have not received is HR.
Can I just jump in a couple questions about nominating?
Nominating.
So as we are getting really busy to send people to apply, do we send them, I think there's a page online, right? We can send that link to them and that directs them to you? Okay.
They complete the application and everything, they submit to me.
So this is a good time to do that then?
Yeah. Applications for city commissions are open all the time. They can always be submitted, but we'll also have a formal call for applications once we activate the nominating committee, which needs to happen pretty quickly. It's kind of a lengthy process, so that we need to get apparently Sam on that. So I know he's asked me about it also.
And at last meeting, Abdul mentioned that he thought he'd be able to make one other meeting. He was the first chair.
Yeah.
So it's, it's an important marker, and he's made a
Who's the
major
second chair?
contribution. Second chair? Who was the first?
Jeff Coven,
Oh, you're right. You're right.
interestingly.
So I want to be sure that we try to acknowledge.
Yeah, that's.
Yes.
That's a big milestone.
Yeah, well, can somebody check in with Abdul and see if he'll be here in October? Would you be willing to hear? Can someone like Kenya check in with Abdul? I know he travels a lot, so.
For nominating committee, I've been sending out a lot of information and talking with people.
Good.
And we have a couple of good nibbles.
And it's never too early to recruit people
Yeah.
for the good work that we do here. So even if they're not current open seats.
As far as, I think that those buttons Emily made were great branding, even though people thought they were hideous. I think that it was unique enough to grab attention, and I think they're out. And so could you possibly order more buttons or make new buttons? She had a couple designs too, but I think that it's important to have some type of material to talk to people about. People wear
They can be ordered. Is there, just for the purposes of, I mean.
Is there one?
I'm gonna put my little Brandon hat on for a second. I've seen them and I hear what you're saying.
I'm not gonna comment.
No, so I guess what I'm saying is typically when you want to do something, you want it to stand out, but you want it to be consistent.
Yeah.
Is this the new, I
That's
feel like
the
this is
newer-
the newest
Right.
situations, right?
Yeah, that's the new logo, or newish.
You hear me attempting to be as diplomatic as
I
possible.
like it.
Right, so.
But you also can be not diplomatic.
I just think that we should have something that is consistent with whatever else people will see, because from a brand perspective, right, you want it to be the same thing, and the repetitive piece is what sticks, it's the behavioral thing.
Even
So-
though I love that quote, every human
That's
has
right.
rights.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we can maybe also add that to the button, but yeah, this needs to be consistent with whatever else we have on our website.
It could look very different, but I definitely think that,
You could add that with it, yeah. I wonder if that's something that, so Jeff would be the best person to work with on that, so maybe.
you can order them, it's simple, you literally just send them a PDF of what you want it to be on.
The new leadership
And it's
folks.
based
So
Have the
are
art-
you guys gonna give me the PDF of
Who
what you
has
want?
it? That's what, yeah.
Do you
We're
want
need
hoping
to-
Jeff-
that's not-
extra?
Jeff, I don't think Jeff was
has-
involved, because that was actually developed by Emily.
It was before Jeff came on
Yeah,
board, but
but Jeff could recreate that in about 2 minutes, so.
Do we have a bank asset window stuff?
And Jeff,
in Dropbox we do.
oh, which Jeff has access to,
Yeah.
which he will transition probably to Kenya.
And let's just touch base, there are people other than Diallo that would find them useful?
The buttons?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I think we should have them before December 11th.
Yeah.
Before we order them, I have no idea what you want. I just heard a bunch of ideas kind of tossed.
Well, I think, so who can work on, with Jeff on designing a new button?
Shabri, do you want to suggest a new button design?
You and I work,
Okay.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, we just need to pull together a PDF, and as long as it's either this, because this is what we had before, and we were okay with this at one time, or something that is indicative of what we currently have, then yes, let's pull something together.
I would approach Jeff,
Should be easy.
because he's a graphics design professional.
Jeff does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's his world.
And Jeff is also working for housing,
Oh, yeah.
and he's doing a big project with them, and then he's got a bunch of stuff that's going on with OEHR, so his time is really quite limited, so if you want a quick turnaround, you're probably not gonna get it.
I don't know how quick, we just need it by December 11th, and we need what, 1,000, 2,000,
Yeah.
how many do we usually go through?
I don't know how many we got last time, but yeah, that sounds good.
It's just a PDF that it's like a,
Yeah, they're pretty cheap.
So how about, so that Kenya has an idea of the timeline we're working on, maybe if the two of you can just get a logo together for the button for the October meeting, show everybody, have everybody say yes, and then we'll give that PDF to Kenya at that time.
And maybe budget
Out of the communications.
Yeah, we've got that in the budget.
Fantastic, thank you all. HRTF is update, we're also partners with CDC on the Homelessness Solutions Forum, so that is ours. Any other announcements? before we
Announcement
do?
and a little comment. Quick announcement, so my nonprofit is having a fundraiser November 8th this year at CIO, from 4 to 8. And a comment to, I think maybe one time in the future, we should just kill our own agendas and have public comment the whole time. Because everything they said is everything that I felt, and I feel I've gotten so far away from everything that I thought HRC was. And I'm disappointed with myself. And I've questioned remaining on this board for a while. And I'm almost to the point where I don't even give a damn anymore because I have not built any peace. I have not ended any discrimination with this Human Rights Commission. I feel if I cannot be honest about it, then what the hell am I doing here? And I agree with everything they said, everything, because I felt like that was what I was getting into before I came here, and all I do was come in here and these comments, and all we do was talk. We do more than talk. I'm talking out of emotion and out of Emmanuel, not out of HRC Emmanuel. But I just feel like there's so much more that I expected in the community. We owe that to the community. And I agree with you 100% as far as OEHR. Like, you know, what are we doing? I can do this at home. But I do appreciate everything that we all bring to the table. I'm very honored to be HRC commissioner. But I don't know, I just think we need to have a public comment. I'm willing to shut up and just listen for hours and hours and hours, because what it comes down to is we really are to serve them. And even though we do report to the mayor, you know, how many times do we see him? How many times does he come and say, you know, he supports this, or we can write a letter and support and do all this other letter writing and paper and pen pushing and all this other stuff. But I just want to do more, and I feel I'm not living up to myself if I continue to come to these meetings and click on my phone because I'm so uninterested in all this other stuff, and I'm really just tired of it. But I'm trying not to talk out of emotion, but I'm talking as Emmanuel, not as a Human Rights Commissioner, because I am a person, but the Human Rights Commission adds some validity to the things that we do. So that's just what I feel, and hopefully we can move forward. So.
In any way that you can share how you would like it to look instead, I'm very interested, because I think a lot of us share that frustration, and, you know, it feels like we're walking through pea soup sometimes, and you're a person of action, and I'm watching it left and right. But we need to have I think a vision of what it is instead of what it isn't, right?
I think these meetings are exhausting for me, like, because it's a lot of processing, and I feel like the real work happens outside of these meetings, but we make key decisions when we're able. I think that these meetings could be redesigned so that we bring action requests to the larger body to vet and make decisions, take action, and that we actually have subcommittee time to actually do the work that we volunteer on this commission for, built into the agenda. Like a lot of other bodies I staff or have served on, we do that. You have the larger, everybody comes together and talks about stuff that you have to, and then you break off and do your core work so that you don't feel like you're just processing and talking, you know, in this insular kind of way. So I second some of the emotion there, and I see a way that this could be, or I don't want to take, I know that we probably feel somewhat differently about this, but I feel some, I guess, exhaustion. Sometimes when we talk for hours and hours, I'm like, man, I know that I volunteered so that we could do stuff, and we've done a lot of really good foundational work around systems and how to do it and stuff, and now I think maybe we can make a shift, and maybe that would help with retaining leadership if we made that shift and made it more about what we do instead of how we do it always. It's just I see great opportunity, even just the Public Involvement Advisory Council that I staff, we all come together for a while, then the subgroups or work groups break out and do the core work for half or more of the time normally. And people feel energized, mostly. And like it's moving forward, and we have core measurable things that we're doing, and we report on them, and those who serve on those bodies have to share, like, what did they do in that month, and there's that, like, accountability that's moving forward.
I know there is a process. I understand the whole bureaucracy of it. That's it. I don't, you know, sometimes I do have to be quiet because I do speak about my emotion. But You know, I appreciate everybody here, and I'm gonna continue to remain. But if there's nothing change, I'm out. And that's just as honest as I can be, because I'm done.
I'd like to say something while we're still on public record. I had a concern when there was an announcement made about the DOJ settlement, because something very significant wasn't included in that announcement. And that is that Judge Simon, it was reported that this was all about mental health, police interactions with people with mental health issues. And it's really important that you as human rights commissioners know a couple of things. One, it wasn't around race because race wasn't being tracked. That's the only reason why it wasn't about race. And so we did all of these public testimony sessions, and the judge heard so much feedback from communities of color that the judge not only included the Albina Ministerial Alliance Coalition on Justice and Police Reform, in the, we not only did we have amicus status in the hearing, but we are now part of this yearly evaluation, and so that we are part of it, and yet this is the second night in a row where I've heard it mentioned that it's only about interactions with people with mental health issues. That's just not the case. And so there's a part of me that goes, what am I part of? A lot of people ask me, why are you going to the dark side? And I don't want to do that. So I want to have integrity, and I want to be responsible to this group, and I want to be able to count on other people to be responsible, and more truth-telling, just keeping it real, Manuel. That's what we need.
Well, and why not, if you feel like that misinformation is being circulated, why not broadcast that and say, the Human Rights Commission wants you to know that this isn't just about mental health. This is about race. This is about police conduct. And getting that out there on our Facebook page, on the website, I think that's something that we can utilize. I think that, these frustrations that are being shared are shared by everybody, and everybody that's ever joined the commission and sat on it for 6 months and said, what the heck is going on here? I thought we were gonna be kicking butt and taking names and changing the world, and it's like, oh my God, I gotta do Robert's Rules of Order, and we just talk about stuff, and we gotta vote for a half an hour about whether we're gonna send a letter and go through a flow chart about it and all this stuff, and it's infuriating. And one thing I would say is it's awesome that you landed on Clear, and that because I really think Ashley's right. The work gets done in those subcommittees. I mean, you can get your hands dirty in there and really get work done. And these meetings are maddening sometimes, but I'm glad you're still here. Hold on.
No, I'm holding on.
But yeah, we can get that out there, I think, and I think that that's one thing we can do, despite the bureaucracy, despite the pea soup. We can disseminate information and use our bully pulpit to do that, because that's what we really have. That's what we have. I mean, we all are on other boards or commissions or have a job where people listen to what we have to say. But this is the only one that has the city of Portland attached to it, and where we have that bully pulpit. And so we should be using that. And I know I'm on my way out, so it's easy to say that, but it's something that I've learned over the years, and it's, that's something that we can use, and I would certainly encourage us to continue doing that. So.
Okay.
Just for the sake of saying something, I hear a lot about I'm gonna paraphrase, we don't need OHR, blah, blah, blah. But I think that energy could be used to create a collaborative relationship and not to continue a contentious relationship. And I don't think that a contentious relationship is what's necessary. I don't think that it's useful. I don't think that it's productive. I think that sort of progeny this idea that, OHR is trying to do something subversive to HRC is a myth, and I think that we need to just kind of put it out there. If you want to know, ask the question. I doubt anybody will tell you something that's not true. Well, no, we want you to say this, or no, we don't want you to say that. I've only heard Dante say that you guys are to do what you do and that he'll support you even if you don't agree with what the city is saying. But within their meetings, there's all this contentious language around, you know, fighting OHER. What are you fighting?
I wasn't quite sure that it was OHER, I thought it was more like the city. Like the city.
I heard specifically OHER.
Well, I said OHER, but then again, the city, from the mayor on down. I mean, I looked over here, I've seen some Dante say, I'm like, what the hell Dante know about that? I've reached out to him a few times about something specific around recidivism, even the chair. I've sent many emails, but it's not a place for me to vent. And so I was just saying OHER as an example, but within the city, within the county chair authority, I mean, from whoever on down. I wasn't like specifically trying to target, but what the gentleman had said earlier just brought it back to, just made me remember it. And, you know.
And I'll say that the HRC's relationship with the OEHR is vastly improved. I know you've come in recently, but between the time that Jeff started and today, the relationship between the HRC Commission, the Human Rights Commission, and OEHR is vastly improved. We have really worked on rebuilding, and so has Dante, on building that relationship. And I think that you observed something that was particularly difficult between our chair and OEHR, and that gave you an insight that maybe, you know, was unusual. I think very unusual. But I would say, you know, don't use that as your bellwether for our relationship with OEHR, because I think we have actually a very productive relationship. And certainly, I would say don't take that personally and think that you're being singled out, because I think everybody really appreciates the work that you're doing, and we certainly need you and consider you an asset and a resource. At least I do, and I know that everybody that I've talked to does. So I hope you don't take that personally.
I don't take it personally, but what I'm hoping is that we can create an even more collaborative relationship to where there is, and a real relationship where, like a normal, healthy relationship where there's room for disagreement and there's also room for agreement. And when either of those, you know, circumstances arise, it doesn't color the whole relationship. If we disagree, there should be room to have that disagreement and still maintain a relationship that's healthy. Or when we agree, suddenly we're not all overly in love with each other and there's no room for disagreement. So if I can do anything, it's to help forge that sort of relationship between the office and the HRC. One where there's room for disagreement and there's also room for agreement. And one that's collaborative, where when we can help, we help. When we need to step out of the way, we step out of the way.
I agree. And I think Dante would be one of the first to say that the way this relationship proceeds is exactly that, is as a group, we decide who we are, what we want, what we need, and then we work collaboratively with the office to help provide that. And not the other way around, where we're asking the office, who should we be, what should we do? That's the way that relationship, and I think he would be one of the first people to say, yeah, that's how we proceed, and that's what we need to do. And so, yeah, I think it is productive in that way. And
We love you, Kenya. We hate OHER. Just joking.
All right, any other announcements this evening?
I'd say just see the bottom of the agenda for.
Yeah, there are a couple of them that are on there.
And we can read them for the record.
What is the state of schools? What's that about?
I don't know what they are. Sanju put this together.
Oh, yeah.
But
Anybody else have?
we thought it was important that that was recognized.
You may be able to find more information on your interweb about that somewhere. Otherwise, and I think Damon sent out an email about Echoes of Vietnam. Otherwise, we are adjourned for the evening. Thank you all.